Between 1919 and 1922, Anatolia became the stage for one of the most decisive struggles of the post-World War I era. Against occupying forces backed by the victorious Allies, Turkish national forces fought a war not only for territory, but for survival. What began as scattered resistance evolved into a disciplined campaign that defeated powerful enemies, most notably Greece, and restored control over Anatolia. The conflict marked the final end of imperial rule and the birth of a new political reality. In the aftermath of World War I, Anatolia was fragmented and occupied. Greek forces advanced from the west, French units held parts of the south, and British troops controlled key strategic points. The Ottoman government in Istanbul, weakened and constrained, offered no effective resistance. Many believed the partition of Anatolia was inevitable. Yet in the interior, a different response was taking shape, one rooted in organized national resistance rather than acceptance of defeat. The early phase of the war was defined by improvisation and uncertainty. Local defense groups, formed to protect towns and villages, lacked coordination and modern equipment. Supplies were scarce, communication difficult, and morale fragile. Despite these challenges, resistance persisted, driven by widespread opposition to foreign occupation and territorial loss. The belief that surrender would mean permanent subjugation united diverse communities behind a shared cause. Leadership and organization soon transformed this resistance into a national campaign. A central command structure emerged in Anatolia, coordinating military operations with political authority. Recruitment expanded as veterans of World War I joined the fight, bringing experience and discipline. Weapons were captured, repaired, or smuggled in, while civilians provided food, shelter, and intelligence. The war effort became a collective national endeavor. The Western Front quickly emerged as the decisive battlefield. Greek forces, encouraged by Allied support, advanced deep into Anatolia with the aim of establishing permanent control. Early Greek advances forced Turkish forces into retreat, reinforcing the perception of Greek military superiority. However, overextension and supply problems weakened the occupying army, creating opportunities for counterattack. Key defensive battles slowed and then halted the Greek advance. Turkish forces adapted to the terrain, using mobility and local knowledge to offset technological disadvantages. Gradually, the momentum shifted. The fighting was intense and costly, but each successful defense strengthened morale and legitimacy. The idea that occupation could be reversed gained credibility with every stand. While the Western Front drew the most attention, fighting in the south and east was equally important. In the south, clashes with French-backed forces ended through negotiated withdrawal, allowing Turkish control to be consolidated. In the east, conflicts with Armenian forces concluded with territorial stabilization, securing Anatolia's eastern boundaries. These outcomes allowed resources to be concentrated against the main threat in the west. The war was not fought by military means alone. Diplomatic efforts accompanied battlefield successes, weakening international support for occupation. As Turkish forces demonstrated resilience and organization, Allied unity began to fracture. War weariness, domestic pressure, and changing priorities reduced willingness to sustain costly interventions in Anatolia. The decisive phase came in 1922. After months of preparation, Turkish forces launched a major offensive against Greek positions in western Anatolia. The operation was swift and coordinated, breaking through fortified lines and triggering a rapid Greek retreat. Entire units collapsed or fled toward the coast, marking a complete reversal of the earlier situation. The recapture of key cities symbolized the turning point. As Turkish forces advanced, control of Anatolia was effectively restored. The Greek army's defeat ended large-scale occupation and demonstrated that the partition plans imposed after World War I could not be enforced by force. The military balance had shifted decisively. The human cost of the war was heavy. Years of fighting compounded the suffering already caused by World War, occupation, and economic collapse. Towns were damaged, populations displaced, and resources exhausted. Yet victory brought a sense of collective achievement that reshaped national identity. The war was remembered not only as a military success, but as proof of self-determination. By late 1922, the old imperial framework had completely collapsed. Authority no longer rested with the Sultanate, which was formally abolished. Power shifted to the nationalist leadership that had directed the war effort from Anatolia. Political legitimacy now flowed from military success and popular support rather than dynastic rule. International recognition followed military reality. Negotiations replaced occupation, and new agreements acknowledged control over Anatolia by Turkish authorities. The outcome confirmed that the future of the region would be decided on the ground, rather than imposed by distant powers. The era of enforced weakness had ended. The War of Independence concluded a decade of crisis that began with World War and ended with national victory. It closed the Ottoman chapter of history and opened a new one defined by sovereignty and centralized authority. The conflict reshaped borders, institutions, and political identity, leaving a lasting impact on the region. Against powerful enemies and overwhelming odds, Turkish forces reclaimed their homeland. The victory of 1919-1922 was not simply a military triumph. It was the moment when occupation was reversed, imposed treaties were rejected, and control of Anatolia returned to those who lived there. In the ruins of empire, a new order emerged, forged through resistance, sacrifice, and final victory.